Hello and welcome back to another episode of Distro Drag. Yes, I got a camera. Yes, this is what I look like. And yes, I'm just as disappointed as you are. Anyway, on to the benchmarks. Today we are putting Manjaro and Garuda together. Neither one of these I've used before. I've heard a lot about Garuda as being touted one of the gaming distros to use along with things like PeakOS and CatchyOS. And then Manjaro used to be the go-to easy arch of the past, although it seems they've kind of fallen off since then due to some management or staff or personnel problems. It shouldn't affect the distro too much. In Cyberpunk 2077, our first test, we can see that Garuda just outpaces Manjaro a little bit with 191 maximum versus 183 for Manjaro. And then the minimums and the averages seem to significantly favor Garuda's system, which is an odd takeaway, not something I expected. And you'll see why in a bit. And onto the ray tracing. There seems to be a pretty GPU bound scenario for most tests, so it's very seldom that we see a difference when it comes to the ray tracing. It might be a benchmark that I do drop in the future, just that we can get a bit more diversity in our results. Blackmythwukong, I feel like we're getting a similar situation here where we're mostly GPU bound and it's very hard to tell when the scheduler or kernel is actually doing a little bit more work or heavy lifting than just the GPU driver. So here with blackmythwukong, we can see that Garuda and Manjaro kind of have odd results where the maximum is better for Garuda, but everything else is just better for Manjaro. On to dirtrally, this is where we see the biggest difference and where we see strange behavior. Manjaro actually performed really well with a maximum of 402 frames per second, an average of 290 frames per second, and a low of 181 frames per second. This was a very smooth benchmark, no hitching, no stuttering, a very good result for Manjaro. However, for Garuda, our maximum only hit 332. Although those are still high, the concerning ones were the averages and the lows. Our averages were only 210 versus 290 for Manjaro, and our lows were an abysmal 65 versus 181 for Manjaro. This was something that was reproducible over multiple runs. It's possibly just a kernel or a scheduler issue. Maybe this distro is just better tuned for GPU-bound games, but as soon as we press high frame rates, there seems to be bit of a choke going on. Once again, these are all something you can change and modify, change the kernel, but this is just straight out of the box results. Then, of course, if we look at our overall summary, we can see that it is a pretty clear win for Manjaro. We're getting a maximum average of 183 frames versus 168, 142 for the averages versus 121, and 92 versus 71. So there's a clear win for Manjaro. We're just getting better stability. There's not much difference when it comes to GPU-bound scenarios like ray tracing or with blackmythwukong. So even if you do get some better frames with Garuda over Manjaro in those GPU-bound scenarios, as soon as you open up another game with high frame rate, your Manjaro just seems to be the clear winner here. Alright, so that's for today's video. If you guys enjoyed this, leave a like, a comment, tell me which distro you think is going to win overall. And we are going to be moving on to the top 8 soon, the semifinals. I'll let you guys know what the plan is for that. But until next time, be safe, have fun, and bye!